Breaking tonight, an active shooter reported near Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. A police officer rushed to the hospital. The school telling students to run, hide, fight as the neighboring CDC is placed on lockdown. The FBI assisting local police at the scene. The breaking details just coming in. Also breaking tonight, the man accused in a mass shooting in Montana captured after a week on the run. Michael Paul Brown taken into custody, accused of killing 4 people at a bar. How the week-long manhunt for the Iraq War vet finally came to an end. Thousands evacuating in Southern California as the Canyon wildfire explodes in size. We're on the front lines as firefighters race to get the upper hand. Understanding the rare and scary pregnancy complication known as postpartum preeclampsia. We speak with one woman about her near-death experience, her warning to other moms tonight. An up-close look at the mission to save the glaciers. Our Molly Hunter is in the Swiss Alps, where ice is melting faster than anywhere else on the planet. The startling before and after images captured by our crews. The water slide malfunction on the world's largest cruise ship. Passengers screaming, water gushing out. What went wrong? Plus, remembering NASA astronaut Jim Lovell, the commander of the Apollo 13 mission who led his crew to safety after a near catastrophe in space, and the inspiration behind Tom Hanks' iconic line, "Houston, we have a problem." And the big reveal, the New England Patriots honoring Tom Brady with a 12-foot statue. So does it really look like the GOAT? We'll let you decide. Top Story starts right now. Good evening. I'm Ellison Barber in for Tom Llamas. We start tonight with breaking news. An active shooter situation near Emory University in Atlanta. The campus there placed on lockdown late this afternoon. A nearby driver capturing what appears to be rapid gunfire. Take a listen. Right now, we know at least one police officer has been injured. We're learning that the FBI is en route to the scene to assist. Video showing police vehicles and ambulances rushing to that area. Both Emory University and the CDC issuing active shooter alerts, placing both campuses into lockdown. The alerts telling people to, quote, run, hide, fight. This map showing just how close the CDC and Emory University are to each other. For more on this breaking situation, let's bring in NBC's Tom Winter, who is on set with us here now. Tom, I understand you have just learned that the shooter is no longer with us. What can you tell us about what happened today and where the investigation stands? Oh, that's right, Ellison. This incident that took place within the last several hours here. Now, officials in Atlanta say that the shooter is deceased and that there is no longer a threat to the community. They believe that the suspect in this shooting is somebody that they've identified. They say there are no additional suspects. We have heard from DeKalb County and its chief spokesperson that an officer was injured as a result of this and taken to Emory Hospital. The condition of that officer has not yet been released, and whether or not they were subject to gunfire or just injured in the course of responding to it. So those are details that we're still hoping to get. The shelter in place lifted. People are still being advised to stay close to home, certainly stay away from this very active investigation. The sound of that gunfire that we heard so very clearly on that tape, clearly coming from a semi-automatic weapon, but we don't know if that came from the suspect or we don't know if that came from the police officer potentially returning fire. How the suspect died in the course of this shooting, that's still something we're waiting to get an update on from police. No initial indication. It's still early in this investigation, but no initial sense from investigators that are there on scene based on folks we've spoken to that the CDC or Emory University were somehow targeted here, and there's no indication yet that this involves any potential student. But obviously, Emory University putting out, just as you described, that run, hide, fight moniker that is now so familiar to all of us who have covered these mass shootings, the advice that they're giving to people. But tonight, it appears at least that this is not going to be some sort of a mass casualty event, and that is at least some good news. All right. NBC's Tom Winter, thank you. Out of that other breaking news we're following out of Montana. After a week-long search, authorities say they have captured the man wanted in a mass shooting at a bar there. NBC's Morgan Chesky has more on the stunning apprehension.
Tonight, after a frightening week-long manhunt, authorities confirming 45-year-old Michael Paul Brown is in police custody. The town's mayor telling NBC News authorities found Brown alive and hiding barely 5 miles from the Owl Bar in Anaconda, where authorities say Brown fatally shot 4 people last Friday.
I think we're all just taking kind of a collective sigh of relief.
Lacey Grosvold, who lives with her daughter near the very woods authorities were searching, is now finally feeling safe.
I was also glad to hear that he was taken alive, just because that means that some of the families of the victims might get some answers or some understanding.
Officials releasing this photo over the weekend, showing Brown without a shirt or pants. They believe after the shooting, he stole a pickup truck and found new clothing. So far, authorities have yet to share what may have led the Army veteran to allegedly open fire and then flee, launching a massive manhunt in a heavily forested mountain area.
This is an unstable individual who walked in and murdered 4 people in cold blood for no reason whatsoever.
Authorities say the 4 victims, all local, were not strangers to Brown, who friends say struggled with mental health over the past year. Tonight, as families mourn those lost, others thankful a terrifying chapter is over.
And Morgan Chesky joins us now from Los Angeles. So, Morgan, I understand you have also learned more about where they found the suspect.
Yeah, Ellison, that's right. Authorities say despite launching hundreds of law enforcement personnel to search nearby mountainous areas, they actually ended up tracking Brown down outside of another bar in a neighboring community, just a stone's throw from Anaconda. We still don't know if he was taken with or without a fight, but as of this moment in time, he is in custody, awaiting formal charges. Ellison.
NBC's national correspondent Morgan Chesky, thank you. We are also following those high-stakes peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. President Trump agreeing to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin face-to-face in a matter of days, despite previously saying he would only meet with the Kremlin if he also met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. NBC's Andrea Mitchell has been following this story and joins us now from Washington. So, Andrea, I mean, there has just been so much back and forth between these countries. Where do things stand at this hour?
Well, I think Vladimir Putin is getting what he wants, and clearly President Trump wants a meeting. So they've now announced, the president announcing on Truth Social, he's going to meet with Putin next Friday in Alaska in the United States. It's the first time Putin will be on American soil since 2015, a UN speech, and before that, a visit to the Texas ranch of George W. Bush for a summit in Crawford, Texas in 2001. It was very notable today, Ellison, that after several weeks of criticizing Putin, saying that he was frustrated with the lack of progress in accepting a ceasefire with Ukraine, Trump today said, quote, said today that Putin, I believe, wants to see peace. That's a quote. And that's a big change in tone heading into this important meeting in Alaska.
Yeah, particularly after the president sort of seemed to back away from that deadline he had given President Putin to make peace with Ukraine and for that war to end. I also want to ask you before we let you go about this latest escalation in the Middle East, something you have been extensively reporting on. Israel now announcing plans to take over Gaza City. Tell us about that.
Well, it looks as though from this announcement that they are intending to go into Gaza City. Gaza City is the last major area of the entire strip that is not under military control. So this is basically taking over Gaza. We have seen commercial satellite imagery showing Israeli forces near the border that could be part of a potential invasion. And what's so notable about this is it is opposed by the Israeli IDF chief of staff. The military in large numbers do not want to do this. They've been at war for almost 2 years. As you know, they're exhausted. And they think that really there's no way to root out all of Hamas. And this will be a very tough battle because it's an urban area with 1 million people. And the hostage families, to a great number of them, certainly a majority of them, are protesting against this because they believe it could be a death sentence for their surviving 20 Israeli hostages. So there's a lot of opposition to doing this. The UN is going to have a Security Council meeting in the morning, an emergency meeting. They have aid workers there, and they are dead set against this, and so are most of our big G7 allies in Europe.
Wow. So much to watch there. NBC's Andrea Mitchell, thank you.
You bet.
Turning now to the wildfire emergency out west. The Canyon Fire in Southern California exploding in size, the blaze scorching more than 5,000 acres. Fire crews on the front lines working tirelessly to protect property from the blaze, hiking through the hills and brush to try and put out those flames. Thousands of people forced to evacuate in Los Angeles and Ventura counties, with thousands more under warnings being told they should prepare to leave. NBC's Dana Griffin is on the ground tonight in California.
Tonight, escalating fire danger out west. In Southern California, the Canyon Fire exploding to more than 5,000 acres. The blaze jumping from Ventura County to Los Angeles, forcing thousands to evacuate and others to lose sleep.
I'll probably stay up most of the night and just come out every hour or so just to see where it's at.
Flames quickly spreading through the mountainous terrain as smoke blankets the region with unhealthy air quality. Carlos Rodriguez's ranch was being used to film a movie when flames broke out.
Smoke, you can hardly breathe, ashes everywhere, flames everywhere, and you just look at it and you feel so helpless.
Several dangerous fires are burning in the west. In Utah, this helicopter helping evacuate campers.
We initially were a bit hesitant on what we should do, and then another update came that said that we had about 2 hours until it reached our area, and so we just urgently packed up and left.
Meanwhile, more than 50 million are under heat alerts from California to Wisconsin. And wild weather hitting the Great Plains. Lightning striking the ground near Sturgis, South Dakota. Back in California.
So this is not over yet?
Not over yet.
As the Los Angeles area recovers from those devastating wildfires earlier this year, firefighters race to contain its newest blaze.
We're expecting high temperatures. We still have very dry brush. This is still extreme rugged territory, so the potential still exists for rapid and extreme fire behavior.
A region still under threat from intense heat.
And Dana Griffin joins us now from Castaic, California, near where the Canyon Fire is burning. Dana, any word yet on what might have sparked this blaze?
Ellison, no word yet on exactly what caused this blaze, but I want to kind of walk you through this one area where the fire came through this mountainous terrain. You can see some just black charred remnants here. It looks like there was a shed off into the distance. There's some smoldering to my left, and as we walk over, you just see how close these flames got to this property. And even as we come down here, look off into the distance. There's a new home that is being built, virtually untouched, but you can see just the scorched earth showing how close these flames got to this home. And a lot of residents here are breathing a sigh of relief that the damage wasn't worse. Right now, the fire is 25% contained, so firefighters did a really good job trying to mop up this fire, and hopefully there are no issues as we head into the weekend. Ellison?
NBC's Dana Griffin on the ground there in California. Thank you. Let's get right to NBC meteorologist Amelia Draper to talk more about these fires out west. Amelia, let's start there, because crews out west, they are up against extreme heat in addition to poor air quality, right? Are conditions expected to improve in the hours and days ahead?
Well, conditions, Ellison, are actually pretty much expected to stay exactly the same. We're tracking high temperatures in the mid to upper 90s. All of the areas here in Brown are under air quality alerts, at least through Saturday morning, but these will likely be extended. The good thing is we're talking about cool nights, so firefighters can get a good handle on the fire as the sun will start to go down. The other good thing here is this the forecast for the smoke plume over the weekend, at least into the first half of the weekend. You can see that the smoke is being blown away from the major cities like Los Angeles, but we have air quality alerts in effect from Temecula up through San Bernardino, Santa Clarita, and then out around the Los Angeles area as well, at least through Saturday, Ellison.
And Amelia, you're also watching a severe weather threat in the Midwest, right? Tell us about that.
So this is being fueled by the extreme heat that we're tracking that's impacting a good portion of the country. So tomorrow, we're going to see storms impacting areas like Wisconsin and Michigan, and the potential for some nasty storms into parts of eastern Colorado. The biggest concern with these storms is going to be winds gusting up to 60 miles an hour, hail potentially about an inch in diameter, and an isolated tornado or two can't be ruled out. The biggest concern is going to be areas of Wisconsin, Illinois, back into parts of Iowa, and also parts of Colorado.
Amelia Draper, thank you. Next tonight, the chilling new images from inside the house where 4 University of Idaho students were killed. The photo is part of evidence that was just unsealed after Brian Koberger pled guilty to murdering all 4 of them just last month. A warning, some of these images are disturbing. Here's NBC's Liz Kreutz.
For the first time, a chilling look inside the off-campus home where the 4 University of Idaho students were killed in 2022. The house frozen in time, signs of a party, dishes still in the sink. These newly released crime scene photos, some blurred by police, reveal both a typical college life and the horrifying signs of struggle from when Brian Koberger killed Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. Here, blood on the floor, on a door, and on bed sheets. This image showing 2 handprints on the window. And this one, the open glass door, believed to be where Koberger entered the home.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
The photos, part of a trove of evidence investigators can now make public after Koberger pled guilty to the murders last month. Police also releasing this security footage from a neighbor's home where at 4:20 a.m. you can hear a dog barking, followed by a car believed to be Koberger's speeding away. NBC News is not airing all the images released by police, in part out of respect for the families, like Ethan Chapin's parents, who told us they don't want every gruesome detail released.
You don't think the public needs to know?
I know there's pieces of it they don't need to know. It's not for public consumption.
And why would you need to know it? I mean, what's the gain on that? There's zero gain.
Liz Kreutz, NBC News.
Still ahead tonight, condo market chaos. Florida homeowners facing unexpected costs after a housing complex collapsed back in 2021. The new reality for those living in aging buildings. And remembering Jim Lovell, the man who managed to get the Apollo 13 crew safely back to Earth after disaster struck. Plus, President Trump's new crackdown on drug cartels, his directive calling for military action. We'll explain. Stay with us. We're back with our series Priced Out. And in South Florida, residents are still dealing with fallout from the deadly 2021 collapse of a high-rise building in Surfside. Many now struggling to pay unexpected fees for structural assessments that are required by that state. Here's NBC's Marissa Parra with more.
It was the Florida catastrophe that struck suddenly and seemingly without warning.
The investigation is underway into how this happened.
98 people were killed when a 12-story condominium collapsed in Surfside.
The situation here is still so dire.
June of 2021 marks one of the deadliest structural failures in U.S. history. 4 years later, that ripple effect felt in the form of massive fees for condo owners throughout the state.
The increase in assessments have impacted large percentages of our population here.
Eugene Bold is vice president of the Southern Florida Community Advocacy Group.
Who hurts the most from these special assessments?
The vulnerable populations, so mostly seniors, fixed income seniors in particular, younger families trying to establish themselves.
Soon after the Surfside collapse, a new law called for any condo building at least 3 stories high and older than 30 years to undergo inspections for structural integrity recertification.
I pay more in assessments than I do for my mortgage.
For many buildings, that has led to multi-million-dollar construction projects. The costs spread among condo owners like Teresa Tejera, who says since she bought her 1-bedroom condo north of Miami 16 years ago, a lot has changed.
How did the aftermath of Surfside change how you live your day to day?
Completely, because everybody has great intentions with changing laws. They just don't think how they're going to implement the new rules.
For condo owners like Tejera, the costs have meant thousands of dollars a year in assessments set to continue for years, the fees leaving them feeling trapped, unable to sell in a state where condo prices are down nearly 8% compared to a year ago. This summer, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed legislation aimed at bringing relief to condo owners struggling with the fees, but Tejera says she feels like she's stuck in a bad marriage.
It's too expensive to divorce. That's exactly what it is.
Now, there was a loan program here in Miami-Dade, but it was paused just days ago until next year to give them time to sift through all of the applications that they've received and put a higher priority, especially on those applications from senior citizens, senior residents who live in the area. But, Allison, just a sign of the overwhelming need here.
Important reporting. Marissa Parra, thank you. Next tonight, Houston, we have a problem. The Apollo 13 commander who uttered that famous phrase, Jim Lovell, died today at 97 years old. Tom Llamas has this look back at his life and his legacy.
Astronaut Jim Lovell took us to the moon twice, and though he never landed there, he taught a nation what it means to be a commander. Best remembered as the man in charge of Apollo 13. When in April of 1970, an explosion in the spacecraft caused a loss of oxygen.
Houston, we've had a problem. Houston, we have a problem.
Those now famous words and that mission chronicled in the 1995 movie starring Tom Hanks.
When I looked out the window, after the tank blew, I saw all the oxygen escaping.
Lovell's poise and experience prevented a tragedy in space. The Apollo 13 crew moved into the lunar module as it traveled around the moon. The world held its breath for days until the crew safely returned to Earth.
We hit the water, and the water splashed over the window. We all breathed a sigh of relief. We shook each other's hand.
But Lovell says it was the historic Apollo 8 mission in 1968, the first manned spacecraft to orbit around the moon, that was a career high for him. The crew heard reading from the book of Genesis.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
Apollo 8 was the epitome, the high point of my space ventures.
Tonight, Lovell's family writing, we will miss his unshakable optimism, his sense of humor, and the way he made each of us feel we could do the impossible.
The secret was the fact that we have in America something which has always been part of us, and that's teamwork.
Our thanks to Tom for that report. Coming up next, the warning about a dangerous new condition impacting mothers, new mothers. An Emmy Award-winning news anchor sharing her near-death experience shortly after giving birth, what she wants all expecting moms to hear. And a wild scene on board a Royal Caribbean cruise ship. Water gushing out of this water slide. At least one man injured. We'll tell you what happened next. But first, Top Story's top moment. Tom Brady honored with the first ever statue in Patriots franchise history. It is 12 feet tall and made out of bronze. Patriots owner Robert Kraft had this to say before it was revealed. Take a listen.
People may forget what's said tonight, but may this statue forever remind us what Tom Brady did and how he made us all feel.
I'm going to invite you to count down along with me. We're going to start from 3 and work our way to the unveiling. 3, 2, 1.
Brady saying he could not have imagined a statue in his honor when he was drafted by the Patriots back in 2000. Stay with us. We're going to be right back. Back now with another update from the Trump administration. The president signing a directive today to start using military force against certain Latin American drug cartels. So what exactly does that mean? NBC's Courtney Cubie joins us now. So, Courtney, explain this directive for us in sort of normal people terms, I guess. I mean, are we talking about military force against alleged cartel members who are allegedly in the United States, or are we talking about it taking place abroad? And if abroad, are other nations, presumably places like Mexico, El Salvador, are they on board with this?
Yeah, so these are the exact questions that we've been asking. At this point, we don't have that much detail. Now, this is all based on a February foreign terrorist organization designation. Now, that was put out by the Trump administration that found many of these Latin American gangs, things like Tren de Aragua, which is a Venezuelan criminal organization, found them to be designated them to be terrorist organizations. Now, with that designation, the Trump administration essentially had new authorities to go after them. So rather than just a law enforcement mission, they could use intelligence agencies, they could use the Department of Defense, the military, to track down and to go after these gang members and these organizations. We've already been reporting for several months now that the Trump administration increased surveillance by drones over Mexico. That was in part to look for these cartel members, and that they even discussed the possibility of conducting drone strikes. Basically, the directive that was signed today essentially operationalizes the foreign terror organization. The Pentagon now looking into some options for how they could support this if, in fact, they are ordered to do so by the White House, Ellison.
Any indication on a potential timeline if they were to get that order? And then in terms of your sources, you have a lot of sources at the Pentagon, within the U.S. military. What are they saying about this?
Yeah, so officials are telling us it's not imminent, but they won't really define what imminent means. At this point, we're trying to figure out exactly what's in the realm of possible here, right? So you mentioned the possibility of whether this could mean U.S. troops in foreign countries. We've asked that. It seems everything is possible right now, but nothing has been determined or defined. So things like U.S. military maritime forces at sea, intercepting drug ships with carrying drugs on them. By air, more drones like we just talked about, that possibility, or the possibility of ground forces. These are all apparently on the table. But again, at this point, officials are saying that nothing is really imminent, and they are still working through potential options here, Ellison.
Excellent reporting, as always. NBC's Pentagon correspondent Courtney Cubey, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Turning now to Top Stories news feed, and we're going to start with a family's narrow escape after a massive fire engulfed a historic synagogue in New Jersey. Video showing the entire structure up in flames. The rabbi, his wife, and 4 of their children escaping just before it collapsed. No word yet on the cause of the fire, but the mayor says it does not appear to be criminal in nature. A relaxing cruise turning into a nightmare for one guest after a water slide shattered on a Royal Caribbean ship. Look at this. The video shows water pouring from a portion of the slide after it shattered, slicing a man who passed through the broken section. Royal Caribbean says they treated that passenger for his injuries, and the slide will be closed as officials investigate exactly what went wrong. And an unusual rescue in Los Angeles after a woman got her arm stuck inside a Chuck E. Cheese game. Citizen app video shows firefighters surrounding the snow day game tube, working to free her from the machine. No updates on her condition so far. Chuck E. Cheese says that game is intended for children, not intended for adults. And a historic moment for Major League Baseball. For the first time, there will be a female umpire for a regular season game. Jen Powell, is set to make her Major League debut during tomorrow's doubleheader between the Miami Marlins and the Atlanta Braves. The MLB breaking that gender barrier nearly 3 decades after the NBA and 10 years after the NFL. Powell has been working in the minors since 2016. Now to Top Stories Health Check. Tonight, we're taking a closer look at a dangerous condition that can impact new mothers. It's called postpartum preeclampsia, a type of high blood pressure that can occur after giving birth. For news anchor Jasmine Turner, the condition almost took her life. Now she is sharing her story in the hopes it helps others. NBC's Maya Eaglin has her story.
In Richmond, Virginia, 5-time Emmy Award-winning local news anchor Jasmine Turner is finding her new normal, balancing work and being a new mom to her baby girl.
We know each other. You are one of my first mentors. Which is just crazy that we're even sitting here right now.
But just 3 weeks after her C-section, she was rushed back to the hospital with a piercing headache and extreme swelling. It happened to be on her first Mother's Day.
I have never experienced a headache like this in my life. And my husband said I went from totally talkative to totally lethargic and out of it. And he kept saying, try to stay awake and talk to me. And I remember, here we go, not wanting to tell him that I was afraid to go to sleep because I didn't know what was wrong, but I could feel my body shutting down.
Turner was diagnosed with postpartum preeclampsia.
Preeclampsia is a condition where high blood pressure develops during pregnancy, and it can also affect other organs. Internally, I was so scared for you.
I know.
Dr. Nicole Rankins is an OB hospitalist at St. Mary's and was part of Jasmine's care team.
A lot of people don't realize that preeclampsia can actually develop postpartum. Typically, it's going to be within the first few days after birth, but it can actually develop up to 6 weeks after birth.
Was Jasmine's case pretty severe?
Yes. Yes, it was. Her blood pressures were exceptionally high, very severe. She was certainly at risk of having a seizure or stroke for sure, even death potentially.
It was so high. So they were working as fast as possible to get my blood pressure to come down.
If caught early, postpartum preeclampsia can be treated with magnesium, blood pressure medication, and rest. The National Institutes of Health says that older maternal age, Black race, maternal obesity, and cesarean delivery are all associated with a higher risk of postpartum preeclampsia, but the exact causes remain unknown.
Black women are at about twice the risk of preeclampsia compared to white women.
What are some of the contributing factors to why we're seeing such racial disparities in this space?
There's certainly some systemic factors. There's something, a proposed theory called weathering, where you're constantly living in the environment of stress, whether it's work, whether it's at home, and it impacts how your pregnancies progress and the things that you're at risk for.
The NIH also found that the maternal mortality rate for Black women is 4 times higher compared to white women.
We need to listen to women, believe what they say, and then act on the things that they are telling us.
Truly, from the bottom of my heart, God bless the people that helped take care of me, and thank you, because everyone took my symptoms seriously.
Like other high-profile mothers who've experienced postpartum preeclampsia, including the Duchess of Sussex and Olympic sprinter Sonia Richards-Ross, Turner has been sharing her experience with her audience on social media.
The response was overwhelming, and the amount of people that said, thank you for sharing this because I went through it. Or I found out I had a mild form of preeclampsia. We took ourselves to the hospital because I saw your post.
Knowing that you're a Black woman in this medical space, assisting other Black women too who are possibly falling into some of these statistics, what does that mean for you?
It is a privilege to do what I do, and I take it it's going to make me, but I take it very seriously. I'm glad that I get to be here and do this really important work and live out this is my purpose. So.
Now Turner is educating expecting moms and those supporting them to get a blood pressure cuff and consistently monitor their numbers before and after pregnancy.
I could have died, and when I think about it, it gives me chills, but it also motivates me to help the next person.
Empowering mothers and spreading awareness in hopes that more moms can defy the odds and have precious moments like these. Maya Eklund, NBC News.
Coming up next, the race to save the glaciers. Our Molly Hunter in the Swiss Alps, where the giant masses of ice are melting at an alarming rate. And a cult classic turning 30. How die-hard fans of Tommy Boy are honoring the Chris Farley classic. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We are continuing to follow breaking news that we brought you at the beginning of the show. That lockdown at Emory University after reports of an active shooter. We understand at this point that Emory University is no longer under lockdown. According to reporting at NBC News and our colleague Tom Winter, the man who opened fire in this area is deceased. We are being told the CDC, which was near that area, is still locked down. This is the mayor of the city of Atlanta, Andre Dickens, speaking and addressing reporters for an update. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Smith, as well as FBI SAC Brown to my right, and the DeKalb County PIO Officer Wells. We're just a few of the individuals and teams that are here that's been on scene for the last 2 hours as I've witnessed the coordination amongst many of this active shooter incident that occurred today on the campus of Emory University, just off-site of the CDC and next to this CVS pharmacy. This active shooter incident started this afternoon, and Chief Sherbon will give you some of the details regarding that. I witnessed over the last 2 hours a very coordinated response. A lot of training had to go into how these men and women of Emory University, DeKalb County Police, the FBI, the City of Atlanta Police, Fire and Rescue from both DeKalb and the City of Atlanta, the GBI, Georgia State Patrol. I saw officers coming from all over to be able to respond to this incident. At this time, Chief Sherbon will give you more of the details, but at this time, the shooter is deceased, and we don't have any civilians that have been shot in this active shooter incident. Thank God for that. We do have a DeKalb County officer that was also shot. And at this very moment, the CEO of DeKalb County, Lorraine Cochran Johnson, as well as the police chief of DeKalb County, are at the hospital right now, meeting and talking with individuals, the families, and other officers that were involved having to respond to this emergency situation. They will shortly come to this very same spot to give a press conference and an update on that officer and that incident. And at this time also, on the CDC's campus, there are 92 children that are in a daycare that is on this campus. They are safe, and we are setting up with the CDC and all connected parties to be able to get those families reunited with those children at a local school very nearby. And we have the address of that. That Chief will give you the specific address and name of that school nearby. So we are working to unify families, and at this time, there have been no civilian casualties, but this was an active shooter incident. The shooter is now deceased. The campus is, there are no threats on the campus currently, but we still have an active investigation. Atlanta Police Department will be the investigating party. And so we ask that while things are safe, that you don't drive in that part of campus, because we need to make sure that the investigation goes through without any obstruction. Again, to the men and women that work at the CDC, we know that you've had a tough go of it in the past year. And my heart goes out to you as uncertainty was around your occupation and you being citizens of Atlanta. That means something to me. And then today, this occurs. We are with you. We stand with you. And we're doing everything we can to make sure that we bring resolve to this situation. And FBI SAC Brown, he may be able to tell you more about some of the windows that might have been shot on various floors of the CDC as gunfire did take place. The other thing is to those parents of those 92 children that are at the CDC. I'm a parent as well. I know your uncertainty and your fear and your concern has been high. We wanted to come give you this message that all the children are safe and that we will be making sure that you get reunited with them as soon as possible. I know your heart is just really, really aching, but the good news is none of them have been injured, and we will get you connected to those, to your loved ones really soon. I'll come back to this microphone after others will be given a chance to speak. Now I turn it over to Chief Darren Schierbaum, as Atlanta Police Department has been in coordination with all the other outstanding agencies as we've been working together. And this is why we train on active shooter drills, et cetera, around this region. This has been a group project and a coordinated effort. And Darren Schierbaum, the Atlanta Police Chief, will now address you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Chief.
Just give you an update and some additional information what the mayor provided. So this afternoon at approximately 4:50, the Atlanta 911 Center became aware of a report of an active shooter that was occurring at 1600 Clifton Road. This is right at the intersection of Clifton Road and CDC Parkway, immediately in front of the CDC campus. Officers from multiple agencies responded, from the campus, across the region, from our federal partners and our state partners responded to the scene. Officers arriving found a critically injured DeKalb County police officer that was down. He was immediately extracted from the scene and taken to Grady Memorial Hospital. Officers could still hear gunfire occurring inside the CVS drugstore that is right there at the intersections. Officers moved quickly to attempt to find the shooter and to neutralize the threat to the community. We later found the shooter on the second floor of the CVS. He had been struck by gunfire. We do not know at this time whether that was from officers or if it was self-inflicted. He was removed from the location by Atlanta Fire Rescue to render aid. He did pass at the scene. We also know that the CDC campus did receive multiple rounds into their buildings. Right now, as the mayor stated, we are not aware of any injury that occurred to anyone on that location. 4 other individuals did later arrive at the hospital. They were retreated for stress and anxiety symptoms. They were not injured in the shooting. And to reemphasize what the mayor stated, the children in the daycare center are unharmed. We have law enforcement and medical professionals with them, and we are coordinating the return of those children to their families. We've already put this out. We want to reemphasize it. The CDC leadership is communicating this to all parents, but the reunification site is at the Clifton School, which is located at 1900 Starvine Way, Starvin Way in Decatur. And we want to again reassure all parents and loved ones that their children are okay. We do believe there was a single shooter, and we do believe that single shooter is deceased. Right now, the investigation is being conducted by the Atlanta Police Department's Complex Case Squad. by the GBI and the FBI in a joint investigation until we know more information as to what transpired. The Atlanta Police Department is lifting up the DeKalb County officer, the DeKalb County Police Department in our prayers, and I ask everyone that is watching this broadcast to do the exact same thing. And I want to commend the men and women of law enforcement from all across this region that when this community needs them, no one shirked from the danger. And every officer from multiple jurisdictions responded and immediately moved to end this threat. Thank you. Want to say anything?
Sure. Hi, I'm Paul Brown, the Special Agent in charge of the FBI's Atlanta Division. And like the chief and the mayor said, we immediately responded to the scene. At this time, we're not aware of any casualties on the campus of the CDC, but in conjunction with our partners, we're methodically clearing that to ensure that that is accurate and that is remains so. And then once that's done, we'll assist with processing the scene and conducting the investigation jointly with our partners.
Mayor, Chief, we'll get ready for questions. We'll start on this side. We may not be able to get to everyone, but we'll start with you, Rob, over to the mayor's right.
Right.
Good evening, Mayor. Is it believed right now that the CDC was targeted in this attack?
Well, I'll let Chief Sherbaum ask anything around the investigation. He'll be able to answer that. But right now, it's so preliminary. I read social media and I get calls from a number of you that have heard things about this individual's background. He's a white male, and he has he is a known person that may have some interest in certain things that I can't reiterate right now with any confidence until the investigation is fully conducted. But I think that in a short order, you'll know more about this individual and about some assumptions of his motives, but can't say right now.
All right. Can you tell us anything more about the suspect? What kind of weapon did he use? How many rounds went into the CDC building?
Chief, you want to?
Not yet. We can tell you multiple rounds were fired. We can tell you that multiple rounds were fired, both we believe at law enforcement and potentially at the CDC. Purposely, we can't say it definitively, but it would appear we can't rule that out right now.
Is that CVS a two-story store, or was he in some other kind of place above the store?
We believe it's a multiple-story building, but he was on the second floor of the building that houses the CVS.
Does he have a criminal record?
We can't release that at this time.
Did the man live in that building?
Allow me to let someone else ask a question. Anyone over here at New York Times?
So this shooting comes on the heels of a few other high-profile shootings, including the one at Fort Stewart, including numerous on Edgewood and in some other neighborhoods. I'm curious to what extent can the city confront what seems to be a rash of gun violence without state-level intervention?
So your question around a number of high-profile shootings, Fort Stewart, here at Emory and others across the nation and in the state of Georgia, is definitely one that we have to pay attention to. Mass shootings, active shooter scenarios should not become the norm. We have a number of individuals in this country that have access to high-powered weapons. And for individuals with those high-powered weapons that may have mental challenges, or those individuals with high-powered weapons that are angry, when they choose to use those weapons in a way that harms multiple people, we have to put an end to that in our society. So this is something we do have to have a national and a state, a full conversation across the nation and across the state of Georgia, not just in one city. As you see, this is a coordinated effort across DeKalb, across college campuses, the FBI, the GBI. As you see active shooters across the nation, we've just been added to the statistic.
Right here in black shirt. Allow her opportunity. We're hearing that the officer passed away. So he did he pass away?
Well, at this time, it is a DeKalb County officer, and we want to make sure that DeKalb County is able to respond to what's going on with that officer. We know that he was shot and critically injured, and at this time, as I stand here, I can't give you that information that you just asked. We have the PIO of DeKalb County here, and as I said, in short order, you will hear from the DeKalb County Chief and the DeKalb County CEO.
All right, over here.
Can I ask, why was the DeKalb officer there? I know this area is kind of on that border, but just talk about that, maybe Chief Sherbaum or you, Mr. Mayor.
We'll talk about how mutual aid and how we're all kind of together.
This is an area that is part of the city limits, but inside of DeKalb County, so it's not uncommon for patrol patterns to cross for multiple jurisdictions that may share the space. We don't know why the officer was there. Was he going to work? Was he coming home from work? We don't know if he was on patrol. We will know that at the end of the investigation.
Hang on, Ryan. She's got it.
Do you want to give an update?
So we can confirm that our officer was responding to the threat of the active shooter. Yes. Yes, we can confirm that our officer was responding to the threat of the active shooter.
Can you give an update on the condition? There have been several media reports that he's passed away or she.
So we can't confirm that at this time. Like Mayor said previously, our chief, interim chief Pedrick, will be here to provide an update. I just don't have that information readily available. Ryan, over here, Ryan.
So we are, both chief and mayor, if we can, we're getting reports that maybe the suspect who was known had some issues with the CDC because he was upset about a COVID vaccine and he thought it made him sick. Is there any way you guys can maybe address that, and maybe if he was targeting the CDC because of the vaccine?
We cannot confirm at this time. This is in the earliest stages of the investigation. The same questions you have, law enforcement has. And so everything that is the question of the nation, we're going to get the answer to, and we'll be able to report back as soon as we can.
All right, Univision. Question? No.
Yeah. We're hearing this maybe for Cab, but was this officer a rookie officer? We heard basically he was almost ambushed a little bit when he actually arrived on scene.
So any information about the officer will come from interim chief Pedrick later this evening, including his status and how long he was with the department.
All right. Is the white car with the trunk open and shot up, is that connected to the suspect?
It's part of the crime scene at this time. We can't confirm if it was the car that the suspect drove, but it is being searched by the police and it's being held as evidence.
All right. We're going to take the last question right here.
Do you guys have a timeline of when the gunfire was called in and how quickly officers responded and how quickly the suspect was?
You know, 4:50 p.m. is when the first call came in. Law enforcement arrived very, very quickly thereafter. Oftentimes when officers arrive, they're so quickly engaged in the scene they can't radio out. So we'll be reviewing all video to determine when the first officers arrived. But the response was from multiple agencies. I wish I could name everyone right now, but the citizens of the Atlanta region should be proud of their law enforcement today.
Mayor, you want to get the party statement before we go?
Yeah, as Chief stated, you know, this was a coordinated effort. When I was here around 5:15 or so, I was seeing not only DeKalb County and Atlanta, we were seeing Gwinnett County. We saw officers from Dunwoody. We saw, of course, Emory, the FBI, GBI, Georgia State Patrol. Everyone was responding because there was shots being fired, calls for shot being fired right there in front of the CDC, and then shots fired inside of the CVS. And so you're hearing, you know, everyone responded. It was hundreds of officers as well as fire rescue. And at this time, we've spoken with Emory President Finvez, as well as all of the individuals at the CDC, the leadership there, and the leadership of DeKalb County, et cetera. Everyone will continue to give updates throughout this evening. This very same spot will be utilized by DeKalb County as they return from the hospital really soon, as they're talking with families. And as more information becomes available that we can share about the suspect that is now deceased, we will make sure that we share that because we want you to know the mindset, what might have led to this so that we never have it happen again. We want right now to give this update that the area is clear. No threats continue to exist, and we're going to start reuniting families with those children that are in that daycare. And again, the campus has the all clear sign. Stay out of that area right there in front of the CDC and where the CVS is, because it is an active investigation that's being led by APD in coordination with FBI, GBI, and of course with DeKalb County there. That's it at this time.
Thank you, everyone. For any updates, please make sure you follow the Atlanta Police Department social media. That's where we will have updates. That's also where we will let you know where we will have our next press conference.
and we'll also try to send
We have been listening to a press conference with the mayor of Atlanta, Andre Dickens, as well as the Atlanta Police Department chief, Darren Sherbaum. Let me take you through a little of what we have heard from them thus far. They are saying a suspect is dead, and a DeKalb County police officer who was responding to reports of shots fired on the campus of Atlanta's Emory University was shot and is critically injured, currently in the hospital. Again, that is according to the city of Atlanta's mayor, Andre Dickens, as well as police there on the scene. According to the Atlanta Police Department's chief, Sherbaum, he says that they started to receive, their department and others in the area, calls and reports of shots fired just before 5 p.m. today. They say when officers arrived on scene at Emory University, they found a police officer who had been shot and was in critical condition. They described it as that. They say when those officers responded, they could hear gunfire near a CVS in that area. Ultimately, they say the shooter was found injured by a gunshot on the second floor of the building that houses that CVS. They say right now they do not know if that was a self-inflicted gunshot wound or if it was something that occurred during an exchange of gunfire with police. The mayor was asked if they believed the CDC was targeted. He said there were some windows that were shot out on the CDC's campus that is right there across the street near Emory University. He says this was a known person. They are still investigating this, but let's get right to NBC's Priya Sridhar. She is on the ground there. Priya, pick up where I left off. In terms of this question reporters had, was the CDC targeted? What do we know at this point?
Yeah, that's right, Ellison. Well, they did confirm that multiple rounds were fired and that some of those gunshots went into the CDC building. We have seen photos circulating of windows inside of that building being penetrated. Now, the very good news that we did get confirmed from both the mayor and the police chief here in Atlanta is that no one inside of that building that they're aware of was struck by gunfire. We do know that 4 additional individuals were hospitalized, but they said that that was mainly due to stress and anxiety. Another thing they emphasized is that there's a daycare on the CDC campus with 92 children who were in attendance. So I've even seen them here at this media staging area that they've set up for us, parents who are incredibly worried about their little ones. And so they've established a reunification site over in Decatur, not too far away from where we are. But back to your question about the suspect and the individual, the only thing that they were able to tell us at this time was that he is a white male. I did ask if he had any sort of criminal record. They said that that's something that they're looking into. But of course, as you mentioned, there have been a lot of theories and rumors that perhaps the CDC was targeted and that this individual potentially had some issues with the CDC. The only thing that we know at this time is that some of those gunshots that were fired went into the CDC building. And then, as you mentioned, this DeKalb County police officer, we weren't sure initially if they just happened to be inside of that CVS, but the DeKalb County spokesperson did confirm that they were actually responding to the incident. So good news, Ellison, right now is that nobody aside from the shooter has been confirmed deceased at this point.
And police, they're also saying no current threats on campus, but the investigation itself still very active. Priya Sridhar on the ground with that breaking news. Thank you. We appreciate it. And thank you at home for watching Top Story. I'm Ellison Barber in New York for Tom Llamas. Stay right there. More news is on the way.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.